Hello,
Hello.
and welcome to another episode of
The Super Data Brothers Super Show.
That's right, I am Ryan.
I am Eric.
And we are two real-life brothers who work in the data and analytics industry. And if we got a good one for you today, folks.
You know, Ryan, I'm so excited for today's show because we've all been denied health, or had our health insurance claims denied. At least if you live in America, you certainly have. If you live in Europe, it's a bit of a different process. Probably works a little better. But we're not here to talk about that too much. Yes, we are. Never mind. So we've all been denied, and we're talking to Holden Karau, who has created something called Fight Health Insurance, which is a way basically to get your denied claims undenied using AI and other things. So we're going to have Holden on to tell us all about that, and it should be an awesome show.
Yeah, and for those of you, we do have a substantial number of viewers in Europe, so you will probably leave this episode confounded, saying to yourself, is this really how it works in the United States? And I assure you it is. But, you know, like if you caught last week's episode, this is apparently our shift left politically season, as we talked about the importance of unions in tech for tech workers. So, you know, it wasn't planned, but hey, the times being what they are, you talk about what's important. So listen, folks, this is a live show. And it's more fun for us, and it's more fun for you if you get your questions, comments, and reactions into the chat. As always, if you let us know where you're watching from, we will shout you out. So listen, Holden's going to walk us through kind of the story behind Fight Health Insurance, show us how to use it and how it can help you fight a denied claim to get your denied claim approved. And that is, you know, like Eric said, I mean, it's just such an important thing. And it's so hard to do. Like the health insurance system is so arcane, and understanding what to do when you get a denied claim is just so confusing that I'm just thrilled that Holden is joining us today to walk us through this. I've told a couple of people, like, this is the only episode of Super Data Brothers that may save your life. Let's get hyped to see how this works. Now, before we jump into that, folks, a couple things. We have some new guests who will be joining us. There were a couple open slots when we announced season 3. They have been filled. I promised that we were working on some guests for those weeks. So June 5th, we'll be welcoming Malcolm Hawker to the show. June 12th, Ramona Truda. And June 19th, 5-time guest and friend of the show, Joe Reese, will be joining us. So that will round out the season, and then at the end of June, we're going to take probably a month and a half or so off, come back in September with season 4 of Super Data Brothers. And we've got Jim McConnell watching from Dallas, Fort Worth. He says, thanks for the show and having it on LinkedIn. Jim, thanks for joining us today. Good to have you. All right. And then finally, we want to thank today's sponsor. So today's sponsor is Good Data. Good Data is an analytics platform end-to-end that aims at making it easier for you to build and scale analytics and AI products for your customers. So analytics sweet spot is really that the analytics product. When you have a need, you have to serve hundreds or thousands of customers or users outside your organization analytics, and you need to be able to do that efficiently with a small team to deliver great ROI and TCO for your analytics product. That is what Good Data is laser focused on. It is not like these other BI tools that are really just about helping your analysts build prettier spreadsheets. It's about management of analytics products at scale, and it's end to end. So you can host your data, you can transform your data, present your data through Good Data's front end, and also using APIs and SDKs through custom applications or import metrics into Python, all of that sort of stuff. We're thrilled to have them as our season 3 sponsor, and a big thank you to Good Data for supporting the Super Data Brothers show and underwriting what we do here at gooddata.com to check it out. We've got John Standifer tuning in here from Champaign, Urbana, Illinois. Welcome to the show, John. All right. Without further ado, let's welcome Holden.
Yeah, hold on, I've got a clip. I've got a clip to play.
Oh yeah, Eric's clip. Okay. Hit us with the clip.
Okay, here we go.
Denied.
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 Denied. Denied. Denied.
All right.
There you go.
There you have it, folks. And welcome to the show, Holden Karau. It's good to have you.
It's great to be here, and I love the most recent person who you gave the shout out to was from Illinois, specifically Champaign. It's where my wife went to school. So small world. I love it.
Yeah. So we wanted to have you on, I think, because we're really interested in the work you're doing with Fight Health Insurance, and we wanted to hear more about it, the story of how you built it and why, and also to help get the word out that this exists, right? And so let's just kind of start with there. For people who aren't familiar with your background, what is it that you've done professionally, and that brought you to the point where you had the skills to build a tool like this?
Yeah, so I've been around most of the large tech companies in the Bay Area. The notable exception is Facebook/Meta. So I was at Netflix most recently. Before that, Apple. Before that, Google. Before that, IBM. Before that, two small startups, Alpine, Databricks. Back when it was a startup, I think I was employee number 10.
Wow,
or something. Yeah. I should have stayed there longer. I would have a lot more money. But hey, whatever, that's life. Google, Amazon. So essentially bounced around most of the big tech companies. Also did a few startups. And I've worked on Apache Spark for probably over a decade now, which is crazy to think that's been around for so long. But yeah, so I've worked on big data processing tools for over a decade. And that's just really, I think it's a good segue into sort of AI and ML stuff, because fundamentally most of these problems end up being data problems. And I actually got into big data because I was working on search problems at Amazon, and our problems were all around data rather than actual search. It was we've got too much data here. How do we handle the search on this data size? And so similarly, if we look at the large language models that exist today, it's all about how do we get the right data to the model for training. And so yeah, it's been fun. I wrote some O'Reilly books. If you have a corporate credit card, I encourage you to purchase several copies. They can help me, continue to drink delicious coffee. Yeah. For less than $1 a day, you too can help a developer from turning to a life of enterprise support contracts. But I mean, whatever. It's okay. We've all been there. And enterprise support contracts are pretty good. But yeah, so that's sort of my professional side that got me. I would say the skills to work on the problem, and then there's also the living in America side of life, which gets you really annoyed with health insurance. And so throughout all of this, I actually I got hit by a car back in 2019. I was at Apple at the time. Fantastic insurance, but even with relatively good insurance, so many things were being denied, and things that are there's things which is okay, it's a little borderline, but it's things where it's no, you've been hit by a car, you do need physical therapy, right? That's not a matter of debate, right? This is the standard of care here. This isn't weird. And so that was really, really frustrating for me. And also being trans in America, lots of health insurance denials. That was more for me, it's how do I say this? Trans people aren't a large portion of the population. So the fact that I was getting a lot of health insurance denials from that stuff was kind of just well, that makes sense. It's bad, but I get it. This isn't a normal thing to the health insurance industry. So it makes sense that I have to argue for stuff. But then for stuff like physical therapy, it's no, most people at some point in their life are going to need some kind of physical therapy. They're going to fall, they're going to hurt them. What the hell? How is this so broken for everyone? And I don't know. It's being an engineer, right? You solve a problem once, fine. You solve it twice, you start to like get a little bit of an itch. You solve it 10 times and you start to get really annoyed, and it's hard to keep you away from a keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a comment here from Guadalupe. Annoyed is a pleasant word for how I feel about insurance. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been told that the language that I have traditionally used is not always the most polite. So I endeavor to do slightly better.
That's noble of you. So really, I mean, for those, I mean, most people who live in America have had a health insurance denial, but like I said, we have a lot of people who watch the show who in Europe in particular. Can you kind of explain a little bit deeper about this process? Like what actually is a health insurance denial, and what do you have to do? Before your tool existed, what does someone have to do to try to fight one?
Totally. So America is like a little different than the rest of the world in how we deliver our healthcare. And so we have these private companies that deliver health insurance. We also do have some federal programs, but many of those programs also have a private option inside of it. So even Medicare, there's both the public version of Medicare and the private version of Medicare, which the government ends up paying for. But where the insurance companies manage to make money on top of. It's fantastic. That might be slight sarcasm. But in all of these situations, your doctor or your physical therapist or your hospital, someone will submit bills to the insurance companies. Now, there's different kinds of bills and there's different kinds of denials. There's pre-service denials and there's post-service denials. And so pre-service denials are the ones where essentially before they give you the care, they go and they ask the insurance company like, hey, I have this patient, I want to do this thing. Will you pay me to do it? Right? And then the insurance company says no. That process is called prior authorization normally. For drugs, it's a little different because medication tends to be delivered around, like, you don't have the same sort of thing there. But pre-service, post-service, and then we have urgent claims and non-urgent claims. And so essentially, like, is the person going to die if they don't get this care? Or is this person maybe not going to die? In which case, whatever, we can leave them in pain for 30 days while we figure this out. Which is really not okay in my mind, but that's how our system works. And so, you've got this pre-service denial that will often come back to you in the form of a letter, but your provider will also often, like, they'll get the information before you do, and they'll be like, hey, your insurance company said no. I can try and do what's called a peer-to-peer appeal, and that's where they talk to the insurance company. But if you talk to providers, they're pretty burnt out, right? And it's not that they're burnt out on care, they're burnt out on dealing with the insurance companies, because the insurance companies keep adding more and more hurdles for them to jump through to get things approved. And so a lot of them are being like, hey, listen, your insurance company said no, I'm out. Like, I can't deal with this. This is bullshit. It's up to you, right? Or they'll be like, yeah, your insurance company said no. If you've got the money, let's do it. If you don't, I'm sorry. Now, generally speaking, this doesn't happen for emergency situations, right? This is also part of why you see so many urgent care clinics, because urgent care clinics can say no, but emergency can not say no. Anyway, so random side note. America is fascinating. So you've let's say you've got this denial. It's a pre-service denial, so they've denied your prior authorization. Now, your provider has told you no. You probably do have to wait for a little bit more time to actually get your denial letter in the mail from the insurance company. Or if you've got a more modern insurance company, you might be able to log onto their website and go and see the denial. But honestly, that doesn't always work. So you've got this denial, And then if you read it really carefully, normally on like the second to last page, this denial will be many pages of text, right? Like it's not like one quick page, like it's several pages. On like the second to last or third to last page, there will be something about like, you may have the right to and so it'll say like, you may have the right to appeal. And depending on the kind of denial that you've got, you'll have different rights to appeal. Normally, you're required to do a first level appeal with the insurance company. And they don't really normally tell you how. They tell you where to send an appeal. And it'll normally be like a PO box in like some random state that you're not in. It's fantastic. Or you can send it by a fax, because they really love the 90s, right? Like the dream of the 90s is alive in Portland and insurance companies, and healthcare in general, but honestly, like the rest of healthcare is kind of getting their shit together. Insurance companies are not, and this is the sort of thing where it's like, if you talk to people, right, like especially younger people, do they have a printer at home? Probably not. Do they have a fax machine at home? Hell no, right? So it's like, okay, cool. So they don't have an easy way to appeal, right? Like, so like you can't submit this appeal electronically from your computer, right? So you could like go to the public library and print out your health records in the public library. Love this. And then you're going to type up a letter sort of explaining why you think this should be covered. Of course, there's no information about like what explanation you have to include in this letter, but just like, you know where to send it. So now you're going to go, and if you're lucky, your public library has a fax machine, and it very well might. Many of them still do. And if you're not so lucky, they don't, and then you mail it in. So you have to write a letter. You don't know what needs to go in the letter, but you do know you need to submit a letter. And you know that you need to include some information about your health. And then you send it off to an insurance company. And then the insurance company, in their infinite wisdom, will, these are the same people who said no to you at the start, take a look at your letter and then decide if they want to change their mind. And actually, a lot of times they will. Especially, so it's hard to say because American healthcare is kind of fragmented. So we don't have really solid statistics. We have like statistics from like Affordable Care Act plans. And so essentially we have different statistics from different regulators who are responsible for different segments of the population. But the Department of Labor that regulates ERISA plans, which cover so many Americans, reports no information. So we don't really know what's going on with a lot of health plans, but generally speaking, for the ones that we have reporting information about, a lot of these appeals, once someone does actually make it, do tend to be successful, right? But part of that is like, most people give up, right? Like most of the denials that make it to a person are not appealed, right? It's around 1% of the denials that make it to a patient are actually appealed. And so most of the time people are like foregoing care, and this is terrible, right? Like it's not, how do I say this? And like the denial rates for insurance companies, like very huge variance, right? Like we're talking from like a few percent to 54% for one insurance company, right? Like I'm willing to believe that certainly there's some percentage of claims which are not valid, but there's no way it's 54%, right? Like that's just, that is complete bullshit, right? This is not.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. and everything we've talked about so far is the process is the same, but you know, you've mentioned this is kind of, I think you used the term pre-service denial. Yeah. But there's also a post-service denial, right?
So post-service denials are different. Functionally similar, right? So what happens there is you've gone to the doctor, or you've gone to your physical therapist, or you've been to the ER, right? Because like maybe you got hit by a car. I hope not. That sucked. But like something has happened. You got care. They gave you care. And then they decided, no, we don't want to pay for this care that you received. And actually, this can happen where you've done that prior authorization step, and then you've received the care that they said, like, yeah, looks like you need it. And then afterwards they go like, yeah, you might have needed it, but we still don't want to pay for it. So even though you did the prior authorization step, they can still deny the claim afterwards. And so actually, if you look at the prior authorization letters that you get back, they include in like relatively small print, like, this is not a guarantee of payment, right? It's a step that you have to do. It is necessary, but not sufficient to guarantee payment. And it's just like, what the hell? Like, if you make me fill out all this paperwork beforehand, and then, sorry. Okay. All right. So post-service claims, post-service denials are, they're really bad, right? Because, yeah, okay, you've gotten your care, so you're probably not going to die, but like the financial impact of this can be terrible. And a lot of Americans are living with medical debt. And a lot of this comes from these post-service denials. And this is just like, you've gone, you did a thing, you tried your best to do the right thing. And now your insurance company doesn't want to pay for this care that you needed. And so everyone's losing here except for the insurance company. The doctor's not getting paid, normally because you don't have the money to pay the doctor. Your credit is not good anymore, right? You really can't go back to that provider easily. And like, everyone's losing out. And yeah. So then you get these scary bills in the mail that are just like, yeah, you owe us like, $50,000. And you're like, I don't have $50,000. I don't know what you want me to do. Or if you do have $50,000, you might be like, yeah, I do have $50,000, but like, I was kind of like maybe saving that, to go to college, or, I had other plans besides like, dealing with the fact that like I had a heart attack, I got other things on my mind besides spending. And it's like, anyway, so post-service denials, very similar. The downside, so there are some downsides, right, with post-service denials as well. They generally can take longer to sort of reply to you because it's not going to infect your health as much, is the theory here, right? Because you've had your care. But it's also like terrifying. I've gotten these post-service denials, and it's just like, I don't know where I'm going to find that kind of money. Right?
Yeah,
this is not easy. And
this is the type of thing, again, for our viewers in Europe, if you have this impression like, oh, the American healthcare system, sometimes they'll say, oh, it kills people, right? It's not that. Oh, you go to the doctor and they tell you no, right? Like, if you need life-saving care, they'll do it.
Yeah.
But this whole system incentivizes people to just avoid care to begin with. Right?
Totally.
Something's wrong.
Any care, preventative care,
doesn't matter, right? It's like, so you feel weird, something's wrong, you got a weird pressure in your chest, and you're like, I'm just not going to deal with this, right? I'm just going to try to ignore it.
Yeah, and like we actually, like, I look at a lot of health insurance denials right now, and there's like, essentially there's laws about like, hey, would a reasonable layperson assume that like they should go to the ER? And like, if so, then the insurance company is required to pay for it. And like, yeah, they might be required to pay for it, and they will eventually, probably. But like, in between, holy fuck, is that stressful, right? And like, if you don't know that they're going to be required to pay for it eventually, or if you don't know how to make them follow the law, like, why would you risk it, right? Like, it's weird. You're like, my chest hurts. And I've had this thought myself where it's like, my chest hurts. That feels kind of weird. This probably isn't great, but like, let's just wait a little bit and see if it gets better.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, it's like, and if I was in Canada, I would have been like, we're gonna go check out, like, just hook me up, make sure everything's okay. But like, I remember I did that once, and they're like, holy fuck, that was expensive. And I was like, oh. Yeah, it's fine. I didn't die that one time. It's probably the same thing.
Yeah, next time.
That's the hard. That's the tricky thing about death, right? Is it only happens once? That's the thing, right?
Yeah, you'll need to get hit by it once, and that's it.
Yeah.
Never need to dodge it again.
We have a couple comments here I want to read, and then let's transition to the demo. I want to make sure we have time for that. So
Totally.
Guadalupe again says, often they, meaning health insurance providers, will say no prior authorization needed, but they still have criteria that are not clear that we, the provider, patient, or clinic, need to make sure the patient meets first, and then those rules change. It's almost like unwritten rules, that not even the clinic or the doctor or the therapist or whomever knows,
and
the
sometimes
unwritten rules.
not even the person at the insurance company who you can actually get through to will know, right? Like, so if you call them and ask them like, hey, what are the requirements for this procedure? They don't know, right? Like, and there will be times there's a law that says like, hey, you're supposed to be able to get like the actual contract that is your health plan within a certain number of days if you request it in this very specific formal way. And they very rarely comply with this law. It is incredibly difficult to get the actual contractual terms for these things, right? So it's not like people are lazy, right? Especially to the Europeans who might think like just like, oh, of course you just call and ask. There is no way to find out.
It is easy. That's what our German watchers are thinking right now.
Right. No, they change the rules all the time. It's terrible.
We have another comment here. This is from Eloisa Elias. This is Holden Rocks. The show is very informative. The stress of going through the healthcare bureaucracy contributes to not healing properly. What a mess of a system. And then a couple comments from Quinn. So Quinn, this is a question. Any thoughts on what health insurance companies' response will be if you're successful and they get a tsunami of appeals they're not ready for?
That's a good question. So I talking with some people, essentially I should expect to probably get sued by the health insurance companies if we're successful. So like that's something to look forward to. And the other one though is I think in the short term there's a very adversarial sort of situation that exists, but I think that there's a possibility for some of them to this might be my like Canadian optimist self, but like I think there's a possibility for some of them to sort of accept that like this is the new world they live in and that they should like stop being dicks. And then like hopefully we can find a way to like reward the good people, like because they're not all bad, right? The system is broken, but there are people inside of the system trying to do things better. But yeah, it's gonna suck. Even if we are successful, they're gonna make more things difficult. They'll do lobbying to try and stop us, of course. The traditional American oligarch playbook, right? Where you're like, oh no, this is my money. No taking, mine.
Right. Quinn also says, it infuriates me that they don't make the contracts public for you to download, especially since we pay them so much money for said contract.
Yeah.
It's not cheap. If this rickety system were extremely low cost, you could at least say like, but you know what? It's so cheap, right?
Yeah.
But we're not. It's not.
Yeah. Like if it cost $20 a month, I'd be like, well, this is really bad, but like it's $20. Like, what are we gonna get? But no, it's like it is frequently a large portion of your income goes towards these health insurance companies.
Yeah. And then Paige says, thank you, big time, Holden. This is so needed. The system is broken and stacked against people who need care. It's great to have you and your tech on our side. So I think that's a great introduction for the tech. So why don't you share your screen and kind of walk us through an example of how Fight Health Insurance works?
Totally. So there are three things that I kind of want to show. One is the like main Fight Health Insurance GitHub repo. So if anyone out there really loves Python code, the like core repo is open source. Come join us. We're nerds. Always love hanging out with other nerds. And then we've been working on a professional version. If you are a professional, It's over here. It looks a little bit nicer than our consumer version, and it's got different sort of focus for like how it works. It does cost money, but not that much. It's like $25 per provider office per month. And so that's the professional version, and yeah, it shares the same core technology with the free consumer version. And for me, that's really important. I like trying to make open source projects that are sustainable, and this is like sort of a way to try and do that. And so here's our consumer version. You can see our consumer version is much more sort of like Lisa Frank acid trip vibes. I really like it. I will say some providers didn't love it. Some did, but anyways. So the main thing that's different here is like we don't really have accounts. It's just like a straight through shot. Like you start and then you go through the flow and then you're done. And this is because providers have tons of denials that they have to manage, but individuals, hopefully, you know, we maybe get like one a day in a bad day, whereas a provider could very easily get like 5 in a day and then have to keep track of all of them. So let's say you are a person, you have gotten a denial, let's say it's post-service, and then you go to fighthealthinsurance.com. So here you see I've got some sample stuff. It's Holden farts at farts.com. And so we don't actually store the email address unless you explicitly let us store your email address. We store a hashed version of your email address, so that way we can use it to remove your data on request. But also, like from a privacy point of view, it's a little better. I think like someone could still do a rainbow attack if they broke in, but like they would have to. Anyways, sorry, I figured.
Yeah, well,
like
this is
talking
good. I
about
mean,
tech.
people want to know like because it contains
it contains
identifiable personal
PHI.
information, right?
Yeah.
And so like we do, there's different obviously different approaches between the consumer version and the professional version. In the consumer version, we do everything to try and not store information as much as possible. But obviously in the professional version, like we do have to store and track it for them. So we store a little bit more, but all of it's encrypted. Actually, they're both all encrypted, but you know, that's the vibe. So here you've got like upload your insurance denial. I have this sample UHC denial that I've used. And so you could also just like, if you were on your smartphone, which is where a lot of people are, you can just take a picture of your insurance denial when you press the upload button, and then we do OCR on the denial, and we just turn it into this text here. And then we can also go ahead and we've got this button where we just like sort of strip out the patient name, right, and replace them with placeholders to sort of remove things that are sensitive. Being America, we have all kinds of policies that you need to read and agree to. Very important. You should read and agree to them. I have read them, so I will not bother reading them again. This is the part where like you can optionally store your email address, and then we can get in touch with you and ask you like, how did it go? And optionally, we can use external models. So we have an in-house model. It's a fine-tuned model, which I really love. And actually, right now, one of the computers somewhere in this room is working on making the next version of the model. But optionally, we can use external models. Honestly, I haven't found them to be all that useful, but you know, it's something that's there. So this is great, right? And you'll see like this is not an actual denial. This is a fake denial, but you'll see like this is, you know, the kind of sort of thing you might get from an insurance company. It tells you like you have a right to an appeal, but that's like really all that it's got, right? It doesn't have a lot of information. Here we can paste in our health history. So if we had like, for a lot of people who have sort of chronic conditions, they've got like a running document of what's going on. For people who don't, you know, they probably don't have like a health history file that they can just paste in. So they would just skip this one. And then if you happen to have your plan documents, you could provide them here. And then we look inside of the plan documents, see if there's anything relevant in the plan document. Most people don't have their plan documents, in part because it's so incredibly hard to get them. So very few people provide anything here.
And in this case, Holden, plan documents, like that's not, so it's easy for me to get that summary sheet from my employer of what my coverage is, but that's not really what you're talking about here.
Yeah, because there's actual, like, if you look at the summary sheet that you get from your employer, inside of it, there's going to be essentially some wording that says, like, this document is not the official plan document. You can get the official plan documents by requesting them in writing to the plan administrator. Notably, they don't tell you who the plan administrator is. And it's actually, there's a fascinating question of, is the plan administrator Anthem Blue Cross, or is the plan administrator your employer? And that actually is not as simple a question as one would think, right? Like, one would think that Anthem is the plan administrator, but depending on how your thing is structured, your plan administrator could actually be someone else completely. And it could actually also be another third party. You see this a lot with the co-employment situations that happen. And sorry, I can talk about insurance for far longer than most people want to listen about insurance. But yeah, so now we've got sort of entity extraction occurring, and we really need a better waiting page here. And actually, I'm tempted to launch developer tools so that we can see what's going on. And actually, maybe we will do that. And actually, I'm gonna start over and do this with developer tools up so we can see what's happening. Do this really quickly. See that we did this part. Oh yeah, this is the other thing. So we do the extraction of the text initially inside of the browser, which is nice because it means that we don't have the raw text on our servers, right? We only get the version once you've removed your PII. There we go. And okay. And now it's going to make a request to the backend. So streaming entity backend. And this is essentially, we have a little WebSocket request. And what's happening is we're waiting for the backend server to extract information from the denial that we gave it. And I really need to pick a different denial sample than the one that I do because it doesn't have a fax number. So it spends more time doing the entity extraction because it keeps looking for the fax number and being like, wait, no, that's a phone number, not a fax number. Where's the fax number? There's always a fax number. But anyway, so we see here, it's like, yeah, this is a prep denial. Okay, it didn't get the plan ID right. That's because there is no plan ID in the sample that I have. Insurance company, yeah, United Healthcare. So we'll say plan ID is my plan, claim ID is claim. State is California, prep, and doesn't know what the diagnosis is because it's not mentioned in the denial. So that's good. Do the little I'm not a robot thing. And then we press next. And so then we come back with dynamically generated questions. So essentially we look for like what pieces of information would be important to get this kind of thing approved, right? So here, PrEP is something that you would take to prevent HIV infection. And so these are really good questions, right? Like it's like, how many sexual partners has the patient had in the past 12 months? That is sort of like the thing where if this is a high number, the insurance company would be required to provide PrEP.
And so these are going to be, so at this point, these are going to be like relevant questions to the denial letter that you've put in. So if it's for some kidney treatment, it's going to be kidney questions, whatever those might be.
And if it's like, say it's Wegovy, it'll be things about like, you know, BMI or have you done Weight Watchers or things like that. So it'll all be things that are related to what the denial was you experience. And so this is like that agent-ish prompting thing that we got excited about in AI, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, what additional information do I need to be successful? Let's get that from the user, right?
Right.
Because the user frequently, and like this sort of goes back to it, like you don't know what it is that you need to provide, right? And it's kind of helping people. And so we figured out what these questions are by training the model on California's independent medical review data set. And in those, what we see is we get a whole bunch of examples of like, this insurance company said no, the state said that the insurance company was wrong because XYZ. So then essentially we go and we're like, yo, do any of XYZ apply to this situation here? And sometimes we can see that directly from the denial letter, and other times we have to come back and ask the patient some questions. Sorry, I get excited because computers.
I'm excited really
cool.
too. This is awesome.
No, this is cool.
I love this.
And we're gonna say, yeah, cool. All right. The top few questions here about whether it's in network or not, those are just generic questions, but it's the bottom ones which are sort of personalized. Just to be clear, not all of the questions are personalized. But like whether or not it's an urgent claim is something that we always ask, because that's just like a thing that we don't really know the answer to. Okay. And now we've got a very cute picture of my dog, but it's because I've got developer tools up, not showing you. It's just showing you that my desk is very messy. Which it is, but so this part takes a while, and so we've got like a why the delay. Generative AI models can be slow at the best of times, and part of this is like we're running on like an RTX 3090, actually 2 RTX 3090s, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, you know, we make it work, but like the budget is not big, and so we've got this like streaming request in the background that you can see, and this is part of how there's a security token that gets passed back and forth to make sure that, you know, only the session that is the right one is accessing it. Okay, and so here we've got our appeals, right? Dear United Healthcare, I'm writing. Yeah. Yeah, this is all correct here. Yeah. Oh, the other thing that we do in the background, and I've been meaning to make it more in the foreground. Actually, it'll be more apparent when we get to the next screen. Sorry, I just remembered. But one of the things that we do is we query PubMed for any recent journal articles regarding the specific treatment or diagnosis that the patient is facing, right? And so here, that's super useful, and you see we've got some references down at the bottom. So we're going to choose this top appeal. We generated 3 appeals. You saw one of them was like complete garbage, but part of that is why we generate these 3 different appeals is we get sort of implicit training signals as to like, hey, which of these 3 models is doing better based on which ones people are choosing. And this is going to be more useful when we get the new model out to replace the kind of crap one that generates the... Anyways, so fantastic appeal. Here we've got this fill in PII. Let's see if it works. It didn't work this time. That's okay. So you have to put in your name.
Easy enough.
Oh, yeah, not terrible. If we had a fax number, you could choose to fax it, and you could give us $5, and we would fax it for you.
Like
or
straight
you can
from
print
here.
it yourself. Yeah, straight from here.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that way you can give us $5, or you can print the appeal, and you know you've got your appeal here. I don't know why it's showing the UPS 5 icon there. That's probably something to investigate, but whatever. And yeah, so that's kind of the magic of how it works. And then if you know any professionals, right? If your healthcare provider suffers from moderate to severe health insurance denials, tell them about Fight Paperwork, and they can use the same technology to get paid for the work that they're doing. And we've got a demo of it here too that people can check out. And obviously it's a little bit more professional than this, but it's the same AI model.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
You mentioned this is running on a 23090s. I mean, is this literally like running off camera in that room, or is it running on AWS or something?
It is running on 23090s, and I will show you a picture if you want. Do you want a picture of where it's running? Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Please.
I should have brought that up already. It is running in Fremont, California at the Hurricane Electric Data Center. Yeah, here we go.
That's it.
Beautiful. That's where it's running.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That is where it is running. And if anyone happens to be located in this data center. So this is specifically Hurricane Electric Fremont 2. I do have IP transit available, and so I don't. Okay, as a small child, high school age, my computer science class was Introduction to Cisco Networking. I don't know why, but presumably Cisco paid someone to make that part of the curriculum. And so I've always had this dream of running an ISP. And so technically, this is our own autonomous system number. And we're actually like, we are on a IXP, and we have like three different internet uplinks. And they're all routed together. And so like the top quarter of this is actually all just like networking gear, and the thing at the very, very bottom is the thing that's actually doing the inference. And it's all kinds of fun. I wish we had if you know anyone with a spare RTX 4090, because those are just floating around.
I'm rocking a 3090 myself, so
yeah, that's the same. Okay,
I will tell you, Holden, I am currently streaming from a machine that has a 4090, but I would not call it spare. I'm going to use it tonight to play Valheim.
I feel you.
You need a 4090 for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. It's hard out there getting GPUs. There's actually a fantastic company that they've got a nice little inference one that we're gonna. It's not a GPU, but it is just like an AI inference card that we're gonna play with for doing that first part, that entity extraction.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna train a small model just to do entity extraction. And then hopefully we can make that part go faster and use less electricity too.
That's awesome. A couple questions here. So Quinn has asked, first of all, related to this right here, is there a reason for running it in colo?
Yeah. So renting GPUs is really expensive. And I asked like AWS for cloud credits and GCP for cloud credits, and like they gave us like I think GCP gave us like $2,000 in cloud credits, and then I was like, okay, how quickly would I burn through this if I just rented some GPUs? And the answer was pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so it's just like if you're gonna serve a model and the problem is, right, like essentially we can't scale to zero because the cold start time for a model is just too large, right? So we always essentially have to have this model loaded in GPU VRAM, and the cost of just doing that constantly is non-trivial.
Yeah.
It's weird that well, I guess it's not really that weird. It's just the economics are different because we can't scale to zero, and because the like minimal cost to keep us running in any of the clouds is non-trivial. If we could get it.
Oh, sorry. Can you? I just realized for anybody who doesn't know what colo means, can you explain that?
Yeah. So colo is a co-location facility, and so that's when essentially it refers to like you rent a bit of space inside of someone else's data center, as opposed to building your own data center, right? So like back in the old days, everyone built their own data centers, and then co-location facilities were like, oh, we're going to save money, and also like you're going to be co-located next to a bunch of other networks. And in fact, actually, so I was at a meetup in San Francisco in what is like one of the more San Francisco things. I met someone from an insurance company who I'm very proud of. I did not do anything terrible to them, because they are working on what they described as the opposite version of this problem. And I was like, I have feelings about the work that you do, but okay.
They're like denial bot. So it's just going to be dueling.
It's the denial bot.
It's going to be dueling bots.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, well, we all need to live, and capitalism is complicated. Anyways, so that was like not a great interaction, but the better interaction is there's another person who's also located at the same colo facility, who happened to also be giving a talk there that night. And they run like a not like, I mean, Fight Health Insurance is like a real company, but like they run like a real company with like, you know, hundreds of employees. And they're like, yeah, if you want to like hit some of our data sources, we're in the same colo center. So like, I got you, girl.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. And so I keep trying to figure out ways that we can like use them. But like, it is that thing where it's like, yeah, you know, you're located in the same place as a bunch of other things. So you've got really low latency to a whole bunch of different stuff by being located in a colo facility. Sort of like the precursor to the Cloud Connect thing, where you can get the like direct pipe into the cloud. It's like, well, yeah, you know, we're just all going to be on the same switch in this colo facility, so we can talk to each other for free.
Right.
And actually, if anyone else has a dream of like doing something like this, fcix.net. So like this is like the one of the many internet exchanges that exist inside of this data center. And so what happens is all of the different people that are running these small networks inside of the data center will all connect up to this one internet exchange. And then we can exchange traffic for free without having to have like, you know, literal cables running from each cabinet to each other, right? They all just run to this one central one, and it's very convenient and very fast. Yeah.
Quinn also has a question. This kind of goes back to our earlier conversation. Do you have any templates or a service or even just advice that would help them request the plan documents from various plans?
I don't. I think ProPublica has some content for doing that, and that is what I would recommend. I will say I haven't had, even with using these resources from other places, I haven't had much success with requesting the plan documents. So I haven't put that much effort into it, because I haven't, like, I've had a lot more success with like doing appeals, but just like getting the plan documents isn't a place where I found like the magic key.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is one, probably. It's just, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. The system is truly Kafkaesque.
It is. I'm reading a Kafka book right now. And it's too real.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it really, yeah, it's prophetic in some ways. All right. So we have about 5 minutes left. So where are you with this? What's the reception been, and what's next?
So we have users, super stoked. We've generated about 3,000 appeals. I feel really great about that. A bunch of people, nowhere near the 3,000, but a bunch of people did check the box that said we can get back in touch with them. I think almost 1,000. And so we've asked them like, hey, how's it going and stuff. Many of the appeals were successful. Some of them were not. Of course, it's the joys of life, but that's pretty great. If you do this, I would love it if you check the box that says we can get in touch with you, because then I can get in touch with you and ask you how stuff went. We have like a small company. It is legally Fight Health Insurance Incorporated. It used to be called Totally Legit Co. But then 100% of our angel investors' banks put a hold on their wire transfers and called them to tell them that it was probably a scam. So I was like, okay, we need to change our company name like yesterday. And so it is a company. It's open source though as well, and so we're trying to do that thing where we like help the world. We give away a service for free to consumers, and we sell a version to professionals. And then the other thing about it being open source is, like I said, if everything fails, the code still survives, even if the company fails, which is important to me. Like, not that I want the company to fail, but like I want this to survive as a concept, sort of regardless. And so, like, if you know professionals, like, please have them get in touch with it. We're going to probably do like the standard Silicon Valley thing, but as our how would I say this? Current economic headwinds may impact our ability to raise funding in the cycle that we are currently in. So we will see what happens.
That was very diplomatically stated.
I learned that a lot of VCs have different political views than I do, and so I should, express them in a way that is palatable to all.
Yeah, we're in the same boat on that one. So, yes,
but
find the right way to say it.
Even I was listening to I'll admit it was an NPR program, so definitely left of center. But even on this NPR program, it's even if you talk to hardcore conservative Americans about the health insurance system, they don't love it, right? It's not like this is a left of center issue. This is maybe a left of center company, and a left of center, the people involved in it are obviously San Francisco weirdos, but this is a thing that affects everyone in America. It's not an issue of left or right. It's this is broken and we need to fix it. No one, even that person from the health insurance company that I was talking to, he was not stoked about the state of the world, right? Everyone is this is broken. We need to make it better. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, it's not a problem that it doesn't respect your political opinions, right? Everyone suffers under the system. All right. Awesome. Well, listen, you've been a phenomenal guest. I think what you're doing here is just so important. Whatever we can do to help you get the word out, we are happy to do.
I appreciate it.
Where can people follow you going forward?
Totally. So I am on most of the social media places. Fight Health Insurance and Fight Paperwork also have their own social media presence. On TikTok, I think, is currently the thing which seems to be getting traction for Fight Paperwork. So that'll probably be where we continue to do a bunch of stuff there. I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on tech.lgbt for Mastodon. I'm on Instagram, although I don't post as much as I should. And if you ride motorcycles, you can probably run into me at Alice's Cafe. If you are on ham radio in San Francisco, you can find me as Kilo 6 Juliet Kilo Quebec. It is.
You're our first guest to ever give out their ham radio call sign. I appreciate it.
One thing about your ham radio call sign is you can use it to find the person's address. But in my case, I haven't actually updated it to my new address, so I'm less concerned about it.
There you go.
I'm going to switch it to a P.O. Box.
Awesome. Listen, thank you for joining us on the show, Holden. It was really great having you, and awesome. This is just awesome.
Thanks so much for having me. I really this is amazing. Can I one thing at that?
Yeah.
Just to everyone working in data, try and do the right thing, y'all. I think we've got a chance to make the world suck less. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Make the world suck less. That's a rallying cry. I'm all on board. All right. Thanks, Holden, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, y'all.
All right. Let's go ahead. Okay, folks. What an awesome guest she was. Incredible. And incredible work. I don't know. When I kind of caught wind of what she was working on, I think through LinkedIn or, maybe someone we mutually know. I don't know. But it was just this is someone I have to have on my show to talk about it. So thank you again, Holden, for joining us today on the show. Folks, we are here every Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern. So feel free to join us. Next week, we will be welcoming to the show Tian-Kai Feng, second-time guest, author of Humanizing Data Strategy. I happen to have it sitting next to me right now. I love this book, as you know, if you watched our interview with him last year. So he'll be joining us again to just kind of riff on data industry topics. So if there's something you're dying to ask Tian-Kai about, absolutely join us. Of course, as you know, you'll get to ask it because it is a live show. Eric, anything else we should tell the people before we leave?
No, we're here every Thursday, at least for the next 2 months during our season. Then we'll take a break, and we'll have another season. If you turn in for this first time, we talk about stuff like this. We usually focus more on the data aspect and like the BI and analytics and some analytics news. So yeah, feel free to tune in. And we also might start doing a Tuesday show here and there. Maybe like we were just talking about it before the show, some sort of news. So BI News Day or something, or Analytics News Day, just like a more open Q&A, like cover what's new in the industry. Because our schedule is packed with guests this season.
It is packed. It's like wall-to-wall guests for season 3. We're very bad at promoting ourselves. Folks, follow us on LinkedIn, youtube.com/c/superdata The entire show archive is available there. And we also stream on LinkedIn and YouTube. I haven't Twitch, although nobody I think has ever watched us once on Twitch, but we do stream to Twitch. So
just for fun.
Feel free to follow us there. And so listen, thank you again to Holden for joining us. Thank you to Good Data for sponsoring the show. Got to get that sponsor shout out in. Good Data, of course, is an analytics platform for analytics product builders. That's who it's laser focused on. So, if you just want to make some cute dashboards on top of your spreadsheets, go ahead and use Power BI. But if you're looking for speed and scale to serve your customers and end users efficiently with good TCO, using the engineering approach to analytics, so code, not clicking around a UI, Good Data has got your back. Learn more at gooddata.com. They're underwriting the whole season. Big thank you to Good Data for doing that. All right. We went a little over. The topic was too good. Couldn't cut it off. All right, folks. Until next week, I am Ryan.
I am Eric.
And we are the Super Data Brothers. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.